Hi, this is Dr. David Vizina, and I'd like to welcome you back to our continuing discussions of field methods in cultural anthropology. And in this brief screencast, I'm going to just highlight some of the key aspects of developing a research design and getting that ready for submission to the BU Institutional Review Board. So just to give you a real sense of what we're going to do here, it's pretty brief. What I'm going to talk about is the methodological sequence overall in terms of looking at your research, and first really is trying to get your topic set, what it is that you're interested in generally, then move very specifically to the research question. As that research question develops, you can think about the overall design, given the limitations for your particular study in terms of both time as well as money and additional resources in that sense. So to begin here, we'll look at a couple of different sequences, methodological sequences from Glentz in 1999 and Spradley in 1979. For Glentz, and you'll note that these are rather similar to one another. First, to state a purpose, what it is that you want to do, pose a problem or state a question, so move to a little bit more specifics, going back to that particular purpose. Define a research population, that is, who will be, what are the criteria for inclusion versus exclusion. Develop a time frame. And in the course of classes, this is of course limited to the time frame allotted as per the syllabus. The great thing about the institutional review boards often is that these protocols will be valid for up to a year to continue research and to develop that. So this is something that you could certainly think about as getting the footing for a potential ERSCA proposal, which is due in, I believe, mid to the end of February. Collect and analyze data and present outcomes. And again, this can be an ongoing research project wherein you might collect and analyze data at several different points along a continuum working towards a final product. For Spradley, very similar. Selecting a problem, formulating a hypothesis. So hypothesis in a positive sense is the idea of what you think is going to happen, an educated guess. Now, often in academic disciplines, this is based on literature review. And at the same time, under Glentz's piece too, if you're going to pose a problem or state a question, you would also have to do this in reference to a literature review as well, which is a really important component of getting the basis of your work going. From formulation of a hypothesis, you would collect data. You would want to make sure that the data aligns with the goals of the research overall. In other words, to examine the hypothesis. You would then analyze data again related back to the hypothesis, and then write up your overall results. And again, this can, similar to Glentz's, can take many different forms in terms of the products which are actually produced at the end of the ethnographic work. So you might be at the point where you're not exactly sure what it is that you want to do. One of the suggestions from Madison, and I really like this, is the idea of is consider yourself. What are your interests? What's your background? What are your hobbies? What are you curious about? What do you want to know more about in this world of ours? What are some concerns that you have, if in terms of ethical concerns or moral concerns or worries about global issues? How can you think about that in a local context as well? And none of us are blank slates. We all come with some knowledge, some understanding of the world around us. So what is your knowledge? A lot of this, of course, is based around personal experiences. So what is it that you know? Where have you grown up? What have you seen? What sort of lay theories or ideas do you have about the world and the way it works in the specific social and cultural context within which you live? So this could be in the context of the university, this could be back home, this could be at different jobs that you had, this could be as you've traveled and experienced different things and seen different things. And then what are your skills and background? And Certainly, again, we all come with particular skills. These are qualitative skills, these are quantitative skills, these are interpersonal skills, the communication skills in terms of writing, in terms of public speech performance. And these research skills and other life skills are they're skills. They're not this, it's not this innate capacity. It's something that you develop over time. So, you think about what those are, what you might want those to be, and how you might go about developing those. And I'm hoping that this course and this series of screencasts help in that endeavor for you. So from Madison, the first real goal here is to try to develop your research question or questions. This is both based on your own interests and the literature review. And yeah, it's important to cross-check your interests with what's been written in the literature, and then think about where your particular niche might be. And again, this is a rather, for the context of this particular class, is a really small time frame or window. So have a research question that you can develop, that you can potentially answer in the course of the short time context that we have. To give a clear start to your research question, now this is the intent of the research question, to give a clear start to what direction you're going to take in your research. Now, of course, this may change over time due to the dynamic nature of both you as an individual, as the researcher, as well as the field site, the different individuals there that you'll encounter, the potential cultural, social change that may arise. And certainly it's the case that anthropologists have changed their fieldwork site over time to show the same type of theory and or change directions entirely based on changes in their own lives and their own theoretical outlooks overall. So Madison suggests you going through a series of questions to help guide you in this process. So write down what sparks your interest. What questions do you have? What do you want to know more about? What are the overall themes that emerge? In other words, don't just write this information down, but then think about it. Analyze your own thoughts about this, and consider what it is that is the sort of big connecting piece. And then what specifically would you like to contribute? What can you potentially contribute in this particular time frame, as well as potentially moving forward? From Fetterman, in developing your research question or questions, the research question or questions will guide the entire research endeavor, so very similar to Madison. The problem may also suggest the most appropriate research approach in terms of method, so whether this be ethnographic, survey, or experimental. As Fetterman notes, the problem must precede the selection of a research method to avoid the trap of having a method in search of a problem, which produces frustrating and imprecise results. Fetterman also highlights the ideas of basic versus applied research. Basic research often leading to journal publications and presentations at academic conferences, although not exclusively, often funding through grants or personal funds. Or applied research. This is typically done in unison with an organization or an entity. You have funding by a particular contract for a particular time period, and of course that, in terms of the time and the allocation there, other commitments, that's going to necessarily limit the amount of research that you're going to do potentially. The products for this are basically you have to write in response to the sponsor's expressed interest in the topic. Findings are often published in reports from the sponsor. There might be issues of work product here in terms of if you're allowed to publish this in other academic settings as well. Recently, there's been a number of applied anthropology conferences that have highlighted the sort of dynamic nature of anthropology in business and in other settings. So we're seeing a little bit of a, not quite a sharp distinction as Fetterman might have it between basic and applied work overall. So the research design itself. Well, so you've got your research question or your problem from the aforementioned exercises. So you want to describe some of the different methods and approaches that you'll utilize in the context. So your research design should not only include the restatement of your question or problem, but also a description of your degree of participation as well as observation, the interviewing that you will conduct, the field notes, as well as data logging techniques, data coding processes, theoretical frameworks for data analysis and interpretation. Ethical component, and this will be something that the IRB will be, of course, looking at. How will you maintain consent, informed consent, confidentiality, and where applicable contribute. So in applied settings, how will you contribute to the various participants or communities within which you work? And then what form will the completion take in terms of completed report, presentations, and whatnot? So what are the assumed products out of this research? And of course, then what are the implications for this ethically? So your research design would also include a description of the research population in terms of its geographic area, so where exactly it's situated, the historical as well as cultural context of the particular group, community, or communities that you are going to consider, some of the expectations that or the expectations that you're going to have of key informants. So what exactly is going to be expected of people who agree to be participants in your research study? It should also include a timeline or time frame, when you will enter the field, when you will collect data, when you cease collecting data, as well as coding and analysis. And then you could also include publication or presentation at various venues, such as PASHI or COLA, or professional meetings overall. So in this really brief lecture, I hope to have provided you with a quick rundown of the overall methodological sequence to develop your topic, to get to your research question, and then to start to provide a broad outline for your research design. In terms of references and further reading, David Fetterman's Ethnography Step by Step, and Sunyi Madison's piece, Critical Ethnography, Methods, Ethics, and Performance. Thank you for listening, and let me know if you have any questions.